go away before I taunt you a second time. Do you know what that's from?
Oh, man.
Monty Python.
My dad used to love Monty
Oh,
Python.
dude.
I remember the guys running around on their stick horses.
And they had the guy with the coconuts behind him making the noise.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Humor was different
Man,
back then.
what happened?
Okay, we're doing the podcast.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome into the Minty Road podcast. I'm Captain Jack over at Minty Gym with my co-host here.
I'm Josh.
He's the Krause.
When I started my first real job, there was 3 other Joshes. At my second real job, after 10 years at the first, there were 2 other Joshes again. I haven't actually been able to use my given name as my name at a job for almost 20 years. So I just go by my last name. People call me Krause. I respond well to that. I work here at Minty Gym, the card store. Been here for a year plus. I usually am not out in retail. Sometimes I pop on stream, sometimes I pop out on retail, but usually I'm behind the scenes being a nerd, doing nerd things.
He's our excellent, very handsome operations manager.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever called you Josh.
Yeah.
Maybe once.
Yeah.
Maybe. If I really need your attention, you know, it's almost like you respond more immediately when I call you
Correct.
Josh because you know I'm like, I need actually.
What's weird too is I got 2 older brothers and I come from a really small town. And so Krause was what was thrown around a lot. And usually it was never directed at me. It was always directed at my brothers. And then when I got out of college, it was like, oh, that's my name. That's what people call me. So I'm cool with it. It's a good name.
Yeah, it's fitting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today what we want to talk about is...
Today we want to talk about looking forward, but one of the best ways to look forward, one of the best predictors of what's coming is what has happened.
Exactly.
So we're going to take some time and look back at what happened in 2025, talk some specifics on some big movers in the singles market, talk a little bit about the release schedules and maybe a little bit about sealed product from 25, and how that impacts what 2026 will look like, and then talk about, hey, what are we looking forward to? So that we can come back a year from now and be like, yo, we nailed it.
We called it, yeah.
Or what is more likely is that we completely missed and we don't know what we're talking about.
I can't wait to hit all my year-long predictions and you hit 0.
Yeah, that'll be
just hold
yeah.
that
Please
over.
keep track and then always point. This is
I will.
This isn't Two Fact Tuesday, Big Dog.
Yeah. So, anyways, for starters, some of the big movers that come to mind for me from 2025 are some of those promotional cards from Sun and Moon and X and Y, especially with the resurgence of Mega Pokemon again. For starters, the Shiny Mega Gengar was a promotion back in X and Y that started off the year at like $60 and ended the year at like $298.
Yeah,
and it's not like an alt art; it's a secret rare promo, but it's just an EX.
It's got the attack on it.
So like the Mega attacks that Pokemon revealed last year during the Pokemon Day, it's got the lettering manga style that comes across and swings across. Another one is the tag teams, which we saw tag teams just kind of explode in 2025. The Mewtwo Mew comes to mind, starting at like $80 last year, and the year at like $250.
The Magikarp
Wailord, all of them
the
really.
Gengar Mimikyu.
Yeah.
It boosted the alt art.
Umbreon Tina, Espeon Deoxys.
Yeah, and some of those that don't, potentially hit a list based on percentage or dollar amount is even like the in some of those later sets in Sun and Moon, like in what we're used to now, getting a regular EX, you got a regular tag team. I think of it's either Snivy and Venusaur or Celebi and Venusaur, but it's like it's numbered number 1 out of however many were in the set. It's like a $25 card now.
Yeah.
Imagine opening a pack of Phantasmal Flames and getting a EX card that's worth $25 and it's just a reg EX.
Yeah,
that's
which
crazy.
who knows? That could happen with Mega Charizard EX. But what's even weirder is a lot of those alternate arts that are the more clean, like better looking artworks from Tag Team were promos.
Yeah.
they weren't, so you just get them out of tins. So
Yeah.
they're hard to find in good condition because they were promos and there's so many of them out there. And then also during the XY era, Pokemon was kind of dying. And
Yeah.
so people didn't really know what they had, so they didn't really take care of their cards as well. And so it's even harder when you compound that with the fact that they were promos and they were just shoved into tins as front facing cards.
Yeah. And before we go, like really give our elders a hard time, just think about all of the 2-packs and 3-packs that you open up today with the Cosmos Hollows.
Yeah. We
Uh,
just throw out.
or like, some of the big box collections with the Cosmos Hollows, or I saw one the other day, a Surging Spark stamped Latias EX, right? Very playable card in the game, but it's like, yeah, nobody wants that. It's like a $3 card. Well, you probably, if you opened 3 or 4 of those, you probably just put them with your bulk and either donated them or gave them away or gave them to your kid or whatever. And those are the cards that we're talking about from the early Sun and Moon era, which is what, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Ish, 2019 into 2020.
Yeah.
And so,
That was like the tail end of it, I think.
yeah, but it's more closer to the Victini illustration where they came out in the black and white set. And so we know now, based on before.
I was just about to bring that up. Like a regular EX promo versus like a Victini illustration versus like a Greninja from Shrouded Fable. Like those kind of promotional cards.
Yeah.
Are those something that maybe at the end of 2026 we could see that Victini be the next, like,
Yeah.
I guess it all depends on what sets we get and the correlation between what's relevant, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what seemed to happen with Megas.
Yeah.
Megas didn't really explode until they're like, hey, we're bringing these back. And then suddenly all the old school Mega cards, even some of the full arts like Mega Mewtwo X
Yeah.
popped off. I think that card's like $150 now.
Yeah. There's a couple things when we talk about price movement in the single card world in Pokemon. And not only is it like categorizing the card and trying to figure out the why, it's also, you got to understand the different groups of people that are involved with the card.
That's true.
Right? So as crazy as it sounds, there is a small amount of people that collect cards of all eras because they play a type of the rules set for Pokemon, the card game, that's either expanded or it is
GLC.
gym leader challenge, right? Yep. So a good example of that is there was a card that was relatively powerful, and in gym leader challenge, you're allowed to have one of a card, whereas in, you can have 4 in standard you can have 4 of those copies. And one of those is like the VS Seeker, which allows you to play it and grab supporter cards out of your discard and play them again. And so if you open a pack today and you got a VS Seeker, that's like a $5 card. It's not like a 5-cent bulk card. So there's those people. It's a very small amount. I mean, of people that are in the Pokemon hobby. The next is players. And so with Tag Team Alt Arts, this completely misses that group of people. They're looking for standard cards. Those cards aren't in rotation. They're not eligible to be played competitively. The next group that you have are people that I would generally, knowing you for 12, 15 months, I think you hit this, which is you're just a collector. You just like to have the cards. You appreciate them. You're not looking at them to try to flip or trade into other product, or you just want to have these cards. And when cue the sad music, like the Hulk music from the early story, when your shoulders get slumped and you have a bad day, you just go home and you open up your binder and you look at your shiny cardboard and you smile again, right? When you want to feel something. So those are your collectors. And then what really happened in 2025 was, and some people spit when they think of this, but it's your investors / your speculators. And so it's important to understand those are the different types of people. So I want to baseline that.
Very true.
I also want to baseline the card, and we'll get into the categorization there. And then I also want to just communicate, because we're going to come back to this multiple times. Pokemon as a company is the owner of the largest IP in the history of the world.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Pokemon isn't actually the company. Nintendo owns them, right?
But Nintendo is a co-owner.
Co-owner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but Nintendo has some
But they
say.
are, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is not, for those of you, this may be a shock. Those companies are not solely based, in the greatest country in the world, the United States. They're also not, originated from the United States. So there's different cultural impacts and business practices that are more standard in Japan than they are in the US. And so there's a little bit of nuance to understand there. But generally speaking, the number one job of the Pokemon Company International is to generate more revenue for its shareholders.
Right.
Like that's its point of its existence. And so how you do that as a business is you create demand for a product, and then you be the only one to supply that product legally, right? You can't do monopolization. And then you provide that product. So you can create demand, you create supply, and then you profit. Business is not difficult. It gets complex, but the overarching thing here is from previous generations, from cards that increase in value to delayed releases of product, Pokemon is doing what they're supposed to do as a company, which is people want their stuff. They don't hold on to it. They don't have any holding costs because it sells right away. And through their distribution methods, they can't make enough product. And so there's multiple things that they're doing from a business perspective that they're winning. And I think we can sit around and talk about how frustrating it is or isn't, in multiple different areas. But at the end of the day, their business, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And they care about us as consumers. They want us to understand. And I think we'll talk about that when we talk about 2026 and some stuff that's changed. But generally speaking, they love the environment that they're in now, and they're less likely to want to change from that.
There's
So,
no sense. They don't have a sense of urgency, right? Like
yeah.
they don't need to because they're at the end of the day, they're a company
Oh,
that's
guys,
making too much money.
Oh, man.
It's like,
we can't print enough. We're going to print more. Oh,
Yeah.
no. 12 cents turns into $450 in the secondary market, and it's a 1 in 912 back chance. Sorry, guys.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And it's, at the end of the day, you can't really be angry about it because they're just human beings like us trying
Yeah.
to make their way in the world as
Yeah.
easily and best possible.
And-
And for them, it's going that direction.
And they're business first, and they don't cater to
Business
just
first.
collectors. They don't cater to just collectors. They don't cater to just players, and they don't cater to just investors. That's the thing. They don't care who buys their product because they just need it to get sold. They don't care about the secondary market. They don't care about wholesale distribution. They don't care about any of that. So that's kind of a baseline, and I think we need to start there. Nintendo and Pokemon, right? And then you've got the different types of categories that cards are going to fit into that cause demand or cause price spikes or cause, deflation. And then you've got the different type of people that are shelling out money to buy 3.5 inch by 2.5 inch cardboard with shiny printing.
Which that's going to bring me to my next point as we go back to 2025 and these cards growth and stuff. We had a conversation yesterday that I felt was very insightful, and that was concerning low velocity of cards and what the difference is between seeing price shifts and swings with a Mega Gengar from XY that there's 7 listings of on TCG Player versus a Mega Charizard EX from Phantasmal Flames that has 200 listings on TCG Player. And the velocity of how often those sell, and when they do sell, who's buying them and how many, that creates the next lowest listed price to be $100 more than it previously was because somebody went and bought out 3 cards that were listed at $50 and now the lowest listed one is $100.
Yeah. Let's talk through that because it's impacting One Piece. So the quick one that I went and looked at wasn't actually the Mega Gengar X, right? Because it had a 5x in valuation, which would be a 4x, return. If you had bought it at 60, now it's 300. You make $240. You're in it for 60. Anything that you can get 4 times your money on in a 12-month period, 400%. Guys, the S&P does like 9% in a year. So this is 400% return on your money. And so when things like that happen, collectors are going to communicate about it because they feel good, right? Their app of choice says, "Oh my gosh,
a win is a win."
Oh man, I've actually gone deeper than what my collector app says, and I've actually tracked how much money I spent in I'm just hypothetically, and I've tracked how much money I spent on Pokemon, right? So in 2025, I spent, we'll just make it up, $400 a month. So I spent $4,800 on Pokemon throughout the course of 2025. But when I look at all the cards that I've cataloged, my value at the end of December was $7,825, right? And then when the market shifts, you're like, oh my gosh, now that's worth $8,000. It went up $100. Or every morning when the market's going up, right? You're looking at your app. Okay, so what causes market shifts? The value of a card. This is baseline economics. This is like macro 101 in college, which is the price of something is only determined by what someone will pay for it. And the market market, being the person that'll pay for it, is never wrong, right? So just because some third-party website values a card at $100, if you can't find anybody to give you $100, guess what? That third-party marketplace is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So that's number one. Number two, the amount of something selling naturally in human cognition allows you to recognize what the value is. So the two cards that I looked at through TCG Player, once again, third-party website, is the Mega Charizard EX from Flashfire. It's the secret rare. And there are, in near mint, there were 7 listings when we talked about this yesterday. And this proved my point well, so we're going to stick with it. TCG Player says that there is, in the last 3 months, only one of these cards has sold in near mint. There's currently 7 listed from 6 different sellers. Their market price is like $811. There are 2 cheapest at $500 in near mint, right? So you could buy for $1,000, you could buy 2 of those. And then the next cheapest listing is $875. So assuming that you could sell them quick, you could spend $1,000 and you could make $1,750 total net. Of course, there's fee or total gross. Of course, there's fees. But generally speaking, $1,000 turning into $1,750, that's a win. That's good, right? If you went ahead out of the 7 and you bought the cheapest 4, 5, you're out like $6,200. But then the next on the listing, it's $2,500 for that card. So now you're out all that money that you spent to buy the 5 cards, but the floor / ceiling of the price now is $2,500 a piece. And so you can really turn a profit. So if you had access to ready capital and you had the ability to manipulate a market that has low velocity in it, you can generally shift the entire cost basis and price for a card when there's only 7 of them listed. Now, in contrast, the SIR from Phantasmal, on average on TCG Player, sells 7 a day. So, and I think its price is $450-ish, right? And so this near mint is $500. So you've got a relatively comparable price for 2 cards. One sells 1 every 3 months, 1 per 90 days. One is selling in 90 days, if my math is right, 630 cards.
Right.
And so the value for the Phantasmal Flames Charizard doesn't fluctuate that much, right? Whereas here, one individual in the span of 24 hours could wipe out the 5 lowest listings,
right,
and list to the highest price. And because there's not a lot of flash fire running around in the wild, right? You almost can dictate what the price of the card is. So that was long-winded.
And we're not encouraging market manipulation,
Correct.
Obviously. We're just showing this as a example as to how this can happen with something like a Mega Gengar from X and Y.
Or the Gengar Mimikyu or whatever. One of the other things that happens also from someone who's speculating, and this is a little bit more intense, and I think most of it landed from the sports world, the sports card world, which is, I think that Gengar, White Gengar, which is a cool card. Don't get me wrong. It's just a regular card. It's not full art. It's not gold. It's not secret.
If that were a promo on today's shelves in a collection box, nobody's losing their mind over it. It's like a mega Latias box with a Latias EX.
Or it's like the Gengar deck that came out. It's not like the Haunter. It's like the Mega Gengars that were in there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But
imagine those are $300 a pop.
Right.
5-6 years from now.
Yeah. The PSA 10 version of that card, though, is worth $6,000.
Of the old Gengar.
Yeah, of the Mega Gengar, the
X and Y one.
Yeah, the X and Y shiny. And so it's $6,000. I think at the end of December, 2 auctions on eBay sold for $6,200. So what does that mean? Okay, once again, from a speculatory standpoint, remove yourself from being a Pokemon collector, because if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're a fan of Pokemon. So just remove it being Pokemon and have it be your crazy brother who says, hey man, if you give me $3,000, I can turn it into 6 in less than 5 months. What's the turnaround with PSA? Right, that's part of the joke. But it's a joke to us. But imagine your brother coming to you and saying, hey man, if you can lend me $3,000, I can turn it into 6. And here's my plan. There's no guarantee in investing always, but that's not a bad play. And here's how you do that. If they're each $400 and you've got $3,000, right? You need to buy 7 or 8 or 9 of them. You fly around to Collecticon, you include that in that $3,000 cost. You take a look at them, or you go to card shops or go wherever. And obviously, because there's such a delta between a PSA 10 and a raw card, everybody else is looking at it too. So you're late to the party there. But you look at the card to determine whether or not it can be graded. And so you have speculators that bought a whole bunch of the shiny Mega Gengar to then submit them to PSA to then be able to get that PSA 10 and then demand $6,000. Because if you did buy it for somewhere in that run up, somewhere between 60 and 400, then you found yourself in an environment where you're $200 in a card that's worth $6,000. Once again, that's a ridiculous return. Now, that's not worth 6 months of anybody's life. That's not enough margin to be able to live off of, or whatever the case. But when you do that at scale, and you're quick to recognize that people like the alt art promo tag teams, then if you're at the front end of this, then you buy all of them and you grade all of them and you take your wins there. And generally speaking, if someone doesn't know what to look for a graded card, there's a large delta, there's a large return to be made there. And so that's going to drive the price of a card that you're like, I'm sorry, what? And so when Jack pointed out that they're promo cards, somebody recognized 18 months, 2 years ago, that promo cards were not in the same amount in the hobby, that there were less of them, and that they were cool cards. And they made for lack of a better term, a bet that a PSA 10 would bring some value.
Yeah.
And Jack told me this when I first started. The 2 lovebirds, which he'll show, I think it was Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom, yes.
Had a stack of them?
Yes. So Danny Phantom, this is years and years ago when the lovebird Latios first dropped. I'll never forget this because I remember seeing this story from his YouTube channel. Shout out to Danny Phantom. But he basically, what he said is, at the time when that set dropped, Pokemon was kind of dead.
Yep.
And those cards were worth like $25 a pop.
Let's context it again. So that's Team Up, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So a booster box of Team Up at a card store was probably somewhere in the $89 to $95 for a box of that, right? At release, or maybe like 2 or 3 sets after release. And so when Jack says Pokemon is dead, means that there aren't a bunch of people running around big box stores trying to scoop packs to resell them on Facebook Marketplace, right? Lots of people, if you said, hey, I collect Pokemon, they look at you like you got cockroaches crawling out of your ears and you're crazy, right? Because you're a grown man with a beard collecting that kid's game.
Right. This is like pre-Logan Paul, all the crazy stuff, right? Yep. So anyways, short story long, he had a stack of them that he couldn't sell. Nobody was buying them. They were like down to $25 a pop at the time when he was finally getting them to sell off his website. And now I'm pretty sure that card's like $2,000.
Yes, $2,000 card.
At Raw. And I'll never forget that. And the reason I bring that story up is because people constantly, when you work at a card shop, people are always like, oh, should I sell? Should I wait? Should I sell? Should I wait? The deal is, and I don't want to get down this rabbit hole too far, but it's all cyclical, right? Like there's a time to sell and a time to buy with Pokemon. And it's the hype that comes around every 4 years when an evolution set drops, and then it goes away and dies again, and then that's when you're buying, and then you're selling when it comes back around. But the truth of the matter is, collect what you like.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the values. The values will come eventually. It won't be, it could be a year from now, it could be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But if you like it, there's like a 90% chance other people like it too.
Yeah. If you're the collector guy, right? If you're not the speculator, if you're not the player, if you're the collector person, then the number one thing you should do always is collect what you want.
100%.
Collect what you like, right? Don't let it be dictated by other people. If you decided that you were going to collect all of the number one value hits out of all of Scarlet and Violet, and you started that halfway, or you started that when Mega Evolution dropped, those cards have changed, right? Because values change, because people are fickle, right? So collect what you like. And if there's a set that comes out that you don't like any of the cards, it's okay, right? That's not a big deal. Now, if you're worried about value, man, I live my life, a quarter mile at a time. No, one of the things that makes sense to me in how I walk through life is I want to make sure that I have proper perspective. And so perspective that I would like to be able to grant collectors is, if you're worried about what your hobby has value post you enjoying the hobby, you need to reevaluate what the point of the hobby is. And I'll give you an example. about 20 years ago, I met a guy, we were friends in college, and his hobby was sprint car racing. So for those of you that didn't grow up in the Midwest and aren't redneck enough, sprint car racing are really fast cars that are you actually have to push start because they're not geared low enough for you to start with this,
Yeah.
with the starter, and they've got a funky wing that goes like this, and you invest isn't the right word, you burn money every time you go to a race. You got to pay the interest fee, you got to get it there, you got to bring extra tires, you probably have to have an extra engine or a half sitting around in your trailer. You're probably spending anywhere between 2 to 10 grand per race depending on how it goes, and your prize winnings are like, I don't know, $300 and a cool trophy, and fuel is more expensive. And so like, that's a hobby. That's a hobby. You're spending money with some level of non-financial return. You're spending money so that you can enjoy what you're doing. Some people's hobby is golf, right? And I'll be honest with you, the $110 that you pay for a golf cart rental and green fees is not worth more money a year from now, right? That's a sunk cost. It's gone.
Right.
Now you gain, okay, you're exercising, or you're out with your buddies, or you closed a business deal, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying there's no value that comes from that, but the value from the hobby in and of itself has no intrinsic investment value. Pokemon has changed people's perspective on that. And so if the hobby is for you and your enjoyment of it is hinging upon what it's worth in the future, you need to reevaluate this. This is no longer a hobby. This is your side hustle. And that's okay also. It's just fine. But let's just call it what it is and recognize, oh, you're not in the hobby of Pokemon. You have a side hustle of Pokemon because you're worried about what your money is worth. I mean, if your hobby was going to Chiefs games, or maybe you had a goal that you wanted to go hit every Major League Baseball stadium, those tickets that you have for the nosebleed at Kaufman in the middle of the summer generally is not going to appreciate in value. That ticket stub is not going to appreciate in value. Now, there's the off chance that something crazy happens and then whatever. But generally speaking, the season tickets that you hold for the Chiefs or whatever, the money that you spent for parking, for tailgating, for your favorite college football, those things don't appreciate in value, and that's a hobby. And so let's just call a spade here and say, hey, if you are being, super anal retentive about your hobby and what it's worth, and that dictates the amount of dopamine that you get, that's no longer a hobby, y'all.
Mhm.
That's straight up a side hustle. And why I put Jack specifically in the collector space and not investor or speculator is Jack cares about values, right? If a card has value, he's going to protect it well. It's going to go in his safe, and you're never going to find it because you're going to think that the most expensive cards are Mr. Mimes because they're the ones that have dollar signs written all over them. But
They got something written all over.
Jack doesn't really care much about the value of the card. He likes the card. It reminds me of the GameStop nonsense that went on with the investor on Reddit, where he just said, I like the stock. Jack just likes the card, right? And the value is irrelevant to his appreciation of owning the card. And so if you're there, that's a collector. And once again, collect what you like. I mean, crap. I collect Shinji Kanda art. I also collect Rend art. I also collect crimped cards, right? Why? I don't know. It's fun. And so when a new set comes out, the last banger that Kanda did was Roaring Moon EX out of Prismatic. I guess Seismitoad. But in Phantasmal, he's got a Duraludon, and it's a common. And so when I'm opening Phantasmal packs and I got the mirror foil Duraludon, in fact, Jack could attest to this. I was just like, got my hit. I'm good.
Boom.
Right. And so
There's other ways to collect.
there's other ways to
and
appreciate
the hobby and enjoy the hobby.
Right.
And I mean, so back to the original question of what to predict from 2020. There's really no way to predict anything at all, first of all.
Yeah.
But
I don't think there's much that was printed new in
yes,
2025 that's going to have some 400% increase in 2026.
these are just things that we talk about and think about when considering what could happen in 2026.
Yeah.
Looking at, inventory on TCG Player,
Yep.
low velocity cards, high velocity cards, things like that. I think yesterday we kind of talked about prime cards, maybe
Yeah,
something to keep an eye on.
I think so.
So for you guys who don't know, the prime cards have like the little shine star on the eye, and
Yeah.
they're like a real close zoom up of the Pokemon.
Pokemon has done some like smallish sets inside of eras. So like a good example of that going all the way back to the beginning would be like the Shining Charizard, Shining Mewtwo, Shining Tyranitar. So they had Shinings. Then they did Shinings again. I think in Sun and Moon, there's a Shining Arceus, there's a Shining Lugia, Shining Ho-Oh, right? They redid some of those. They did the Amazing Rares. They did the Radiance.
Radiance.
A-Specs kind of fit inside of that, as an example of like cards printed in multiple sets that almost make a set of themselves because their uniqueness. Gold Stars were one of those. And
Mhm.
Gold Stars, if you're relatively new to Pokemon, a Gold Star has a large amount of value. You know, I think the cheapest Gold Star in non-damaged condition is probably $500 or $600. The most expensive is going to be like a Charizard and a PSA 10 that's probably worth a house, maybe 100 grand, maybe
Yeah.
200. It's probably worth whatever you want to ask, and someone's willing to pay. It is probably high. Rayquaza, I got my eyes on a Rayquaza that looked like it had gone through a washing machine that was still $2,000, a shining
Yeah, it's
Rayquaza.
insane.
So in that, one of the unique things that Pokemon has done in the past was they did these primes. So there's a chance that a select group of people recognize that the primes are unique and they start collecting all of them, because I don't know how many there are, but I'm imagining there's 30 plus of them.
Yeah.
And they're cool, they're unique, they're different. Everybody can recognize they are what they are quickly. I think there's a shot there that primes become something that people chase after, but they come out in that era that's kind of lost, that people didn't do a ton of collecting on. And so some of that is missed.
A lot of people don't know they even exist.
Right. They have
Yeah.
no idea. Another piece there too is just to be able to communicate. Sealed is always going to hold value.
Yes, that's true.
Sealed's a good way to preserve value. The quickest way to destroy value is to open sealed product. If you've got a $650 box of 151 UPC, the quickest way to turn that into $16 is to just open it up and rip the packs.
Yeah, I mean, here's a good point for sealed, and you touched on this yesterday as well. Single prices are always going to be volatile and swing and go up and down. Same with sets. Sets will always hits will vary within a set as to what the top chase might be. And a good example, like we talked about again yesterday, was Scarlet Violet base. It was Miriam, then it was Gardevoir, then it was Drowsy, then
Yeah.
it was Slowpoke, whatever it could be, right? Well, if you've got one of those 6 chases and the market swings and suddenly the one that you have is no longer the highest chase in the set, you're like, well, that's a bummer. But if you've got something sealed from that set, you've got a shot at whatever's constantly flowing and changing within that set.
And FYI, if you're a super nerd, and you try to figure out, hey, the odds of pulling this card are this, right? You can find that information out there. If you try to back into the math of the most expensive card and the odds, generally you won't win if you try to cover the odds, right? So as an example, if a set has a $2,000 card as the chase and it's one in 1,400 packs, if you go buy the 1,400 packs, usually the market price for those packs is greater than the sum of the hits that you're going to get.
Yes. The house always wins.
The house will always win.
Pokemon,
Yep.
TPCI.
And in older sets, it's whoever the vendor is that has it. And so the math never really quite adds up.
It really doesn't. There's so many sets out there where sealed product ends up costing more than if you pulled the highest chase out of the set.
Correct. And usually at release, that's the way it is. And then as you get farther away from release of that set, it's especially since 2025. Once again, it's the speculation inside of what's the PSA 10.
That's
a box of whatever, Crimson Invasion, right, has a high price. A booster box has a high price where the chase is super not expensive at all. But the PSA 10 in that covers the cost, right? And then along with that, you also have content creators. We didn't talk about this yesterday, but the amount of people that are ripping Pokemon packs is at an all-time high. The amount of packs that are being opened in 2025 probably was a 2x from 24, which was probably a 3x from 22. You've just got this exponential growth that's occurring with the amount of packs that are being ripped. And so in that, when there isn't packs to be found at your local retailer or big box stores or game stores, you have people reaching out on eBay and buying a booster box of Aquapolis for $45,000 so that they've got content to rip.
Yeah.
Content to make.
There are always avenues, one way or another, of some niche group of
Yep.
whoever that is interested in.
So 2025 in review, we did see a spike in the market. It generally started right around this time of the year last year with the release of Prismatic. A lot of people got brought back in by 151. So we can't miss the impact that 151 had. And then Surging Sparks with Pikachu as like the number one Pokemon in that set release kind of primed the world. And then Prismatic with all the evolutions capitalized. And then Prismatic was a special set. And we'll talk about this when we talk about 2026 and Ascended Heroes, but it had a release such that it was released to the public on January 17th, but in November there was a new prismatic product that was also released, and so it had a 10-month release window,
And it's not done.
and it's not done.
We'll see more collection boxes, I'm sure, in 2026.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a shot here. I'm gonna guess we get a full art Leafeon Glaceon promotional collection box that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
To kind of go
To
with the
match with the
Umbreon
Umbreon
Espeon.
Espeon. Yeah.
I think that could be like a Costco deal or something sometime this
Yeah.
year. But like Crown Zenith, specialty sets in general, we saw Sea and Sky boxes
Yeah.
like 8
Those
months
came
ago.
out this year. Yeah.
And
Crown Zenith was released.
How They and Face just dropped a
Yeah.
Iron Shreds Great Tusk box
Yeah.
at Costco, Sam's Club, whatever. I mean, the specialty sets, they just kind of pop up for about a 2-year window.
Yeah, there's a long time. As opposed to you running into a Temporal Forces ETB at a big box store on a restock is the odds are zero. I mean, it's the chances are non-zero, right? So I think I said that right. It's very low, but running into prismatic packs in the wild almost a year after release, yeah, that's a reality. That's how specialty sets work.
And Ascended Heroes will be the same way.
Ascended Heroes will be the same way. But 2025 wrap up, we saw a really high spike in the market. Started in January, went really nuts after Destined Rivals release. Like everything in the market increased in value, almost 2x post Destined Rivals release that weekend, and then kind of tapered off there at November. And once again, this is pretty nerdy, and I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but the decrease in the Pokemon market was almost in lockstep with the decrease in the Bitcoin market. And so relative volatility in the real world, not the kids' world of Pokemon, had impact because I think a large part of the pricing market is dictated by speculators, and investors, not collectors.
Yeah.
And so when Bitcoin decreased in value, some people needed to have some capital. So what did? They panic sold. They panic sold their some of their holdings, and that's when you see drops in price happen. And so it'll settle back down, and then it'll go back up again. And for those of you that aren't new to this is the same stuff that happened, 5 years ago in 2021. It's happened before. Generally, it'll happen again. When you do it once, that's kind of a freak thing. When you do it twice, then you kind of got a model. And when you do it 3 times, you've got a business plan. And Pokemon, my money's on the fact they got a business plan. They know what to do.
My money is on the 30-year-old company that's the largest IP in the world.
Yeah, that's been around for a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about 2026, Jack. There's sets that are being released. We can talk about Ascended Heroes. I want to get your bead on what Pokemon card. We don't know what's released, right? What Pokemon card are you excited to get your hands on or have a hope gets printed this year?
It's printed this year?
Yeah. Because you can't say Mewtwo because it got 2. Or it got 1 last year, and you've already seen the one that comes this year. So
don't tell me what I can't say.
Okay, fair.
Mewtwo.
Far be it from me to tell you that.
All right. I'm gonna go. I mean, I guess I gotta go Mega Rayquaza.
Okay.
To see a wicked, just new Mega Rayquaza.
Yeah.
I know there's speculation of a Gen 3 set coming.
Yeah.
I really don't want it to just be like a black and white rare Mega Rayquaza.
Like
I hope they have an SIR for it. I've got to imagine they will. It's such a poster child Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's just a really cool Pokemon. If I could guess, okay.
Wait, pause. Let's a little bit of lore. Here's your moment of lore with Krause on Pokemon. I don't know.
You know.
Nice. I didn't get exposed to Pokemon until Gen 5 and X and Y. But what I understand of, and I think it's actually counts for Rayquaza, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Groudon basically makes the earth, and Kyogre runs the ocean, right?
Yes.
And they have a feud because of whatever, right? Brothers or opposing, primal forces or whatever. And they basically are destroying the world. And Rayquaza is like their parent. It's Daddy Dragon, right? Comes and settles them down. And then that kind of goes away. And then you have the next generations. And then Megas come out, and you get a Mega Groudon, and you get a Mega Kyogre, and they start fighting again. And Mega Rayquaza comes in and kicks both their butts, right?
Am I Daddy's home?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I love Rayquaza. I mean, he's a flying dragon. He's green, and then if he's shiny, he's black with the yellow on it, and he's huge. Reminds me of Dragon Ball Z Shenron, right? I mean, if you were a kid that was born, anywhere between like the 80s and 2000s, like dragons are awesome.
Yeah, facts.
And so having a Pokemon that's a dragon in Pokemon Go. This is one of my favorite big dogs to have. So okay. I agree with you. I'm looking forward to.
I'm changing my answer.
That's fine. Your initial response was,
My
"Hey,
initial, yeah.
was looking for a Mega Rayquaza." I hope that there's a set. I'm not a big Zygarde dude. I think Zygarde's cool, but I think Rayquaza's cooler. I would love to see nice SIR of Rayquaza come up this year. I think this is the year to get it printed. And if it's not Rayquaza, once again Dragon type, I want Gyarados. I want one of the other.
Yeah, that's a good point. We did not get a special illustration rare Misty's Gyarados. We didn't get a special illustration rare Gyarados from Scarlet Violet base.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of did them dirty.
Yeah.
But I'm changing mine.
Okay. Go.
Darkrai. I want a wicked Mega Darkrai,
Yeah.
Darkrai, SIR. That's what I want.
Yeah, Darkrai's the
Darkrai.
Freddy Krueger of Pokemon.
He's my boy.
Haunts
And
your dreams.
I don't know how I didn't initially think of that, but
Yeah.
that's what I want. I
Yeah.
want a Darkrai,
That'd be cool.
a dope Darkrai.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Um,
Odds of that. What do you, are the odds good?
I think
there?
they're high. There's the
Okay.
leak of a set named Abyssai coming out later this year, and if you guys have seen the Mega Darkrai,
Seems to line up.
it's kind of just an Abyssai.
Yeah.
So it does line up. I think it could happen.
Yeah.
I think at some point all the new Megas will get their day in the sun and
Yeah.
have a card of some
Yeah.
type. Even Mega Scrafty had a special illustration rare. And
Goodness gracious.
you know,
Dude can't wear his pants.
right. And speaking of Mega Dream, so Ascended Heroes, we kind of talked about this before. They're doing a staggered release.
Yeah.
January 30th, we get the 2-pack blisters, 3-pack blisters. Then January 30th is the blisters. February 20th is the ETBs.
Mm-hmm.
So most of you guys out there know that already. That's not new news to you. And again, it's staggered out because of Pokemon trying to play catch up and giving themselves a larger window to fill more shelves with product,
Sure.
basically. Something that I have concerns with that I want to touch on is when you have a new set drop and the product that is on the shelves is the bare minimum of pack volume, it makes the pulls will be less,
Mm-hmm.
which means the pops and grading will be less
Mm-hmm.
because the packs are less.
Your $12 word for that is proliferation of the cards is low.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay.
So
Well, let me zoom out real quick and let's just be the company first. Let's just be a company for a second instead of people. If we're a company, then once again, we want to create demand for a product and then we want to be able to release the product to the public. We want to go public with it. And then we want none of the product to sit around. Not only do we not want it in our warehouses, but we want our retailers to not have any on the shelf because that creates snowball effect of demand. Okay. So that's been happening with Pokemon for a year. Since Rivals came out, Pokemon has not been able to provide all of their outlets for retail the ETBs on release date.
mhm.
We experienced that. We're not the only people, plenty of people. So
Yeah. So for
But-
reference, Phantasmal Flames, Mega Evolution, you guys probably saw from your LGSs, the ETBs were delayed. You
Yeah.
had to wait on those.
Yeah. And so let's jump into that real quick. So I don't know what I'm going to make up some percentages here, but what Pokemon does is, they put all of the work into designing the cards. They print them in Japanese, and in Japan, you can't get a sealed box. If you're going to open it in store, if you're going to buy it at a local card store in Japan, I feel confident they actually pull the wrapper.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not sealed. And so that's kind of how they handle it there. There's huge demand for Japanese products. Sometimes you have to win a lottery at the local card store to be able to buy the product.
Yep.
That's been going on for a while. Okay, so in the US where we are, there's a couple different outlets that Pokemon has. I don't believe that the same wholesale distributors that I have access to as a card store is the same distributors that are fulfilling Walmart and Target and Best Buy and Shields and Bucky's and Price Chopper and Dillon's. I don't think they're fulfilling those needs there. I think that's a different distributor than what we have
Well, it's
access
MJ
to.
Holdings, isn't it?
MJ does Walmart locally. I don't know if that's nationwide. It could be, but we don't have access to MJ Holdings, and I don't think MJ Holdings is buying from the distributors that we buy.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right.
so I think Pokemon says, hey, we're going to have X amount of ETBs that are available, and they give priority to the big box stores. It's fine, right? And let's say that that's 2/3. So then the rest they promise to the distributors. I think there's 12 or 13 distributors nationwide. And I think the top, the big ones, there's only like 7 or 8 that are big that have different spots around the US that they can distribute out of as a wholesale distributor. We currently purchase from 6 on a consistent basis. And so the Pokemon has a third of their product left that they then give to the distributors in time enough for release day. And the distributors have have an idea of how much they're going to get, and they allow allocations to be done to the local card stores to be able to put in allocations. Okay, so that's from the top down. From the bottom up, I'll put in an order, or we'll put in an order for 1,000 ETBs.
Right.
Okay. So and what that means is we sign an agreement that says we'll be responsible to pay for 1,000 ETBs should you fulfill this order. That never happens. So we're going to get somewhere between 8 and 12% of what we put in on allocations and pre-orders. Okay. So we get that number. When we get that number, the number crunchers and inventory managers and operation managers at the distributors look at, okay, here's the people that we've got, here's the pre-orders that we've got, here's the promises to buy that we have, and Pokemon then gave us less than what we need to be able to satisfy those. Okay, so then let's prioritize who we give it to. Each rep with each of your areas, you've got your favorite stores that you've had the best relationships with. Let's make sure to keep the relationship strong. So then you get stores that have been around a long time that have high purchase volumes. They're going to get tiered higher than some of your new stores. And so then when it comes down to it and the product gets shipped, stores like ours, and there's multiple, we don't get any ETBs on our bill of lading when that delivery gets done. And then when we reach out to our rep and say, hey, where's our ETBs? I ordered 1,000. You told me I could buy 150. I got 0. They say, oh, sorry, Pokemon didn't give us enough.
Yeah.
And so then on release weekend, people walk in and say, hey, did you get any ETBs? And I have to say no. And we didn't get them from our distributor. And I kind of do the distributor dirty. And because the distributor's not retail facing, they don't necessarily care that much, but they're also pinched, right? And so because that's been happening for quite a few releases, the scheduled delayed release of ETBs until February 20th for a set that drops January 30th. My date's right?
Yeah, you're right.
Is most likely because Pokemon is sensitive to what's been happening at the end user level and simply said, you know what, we can't produce enough ETBs to match the demand. So we're just going to delay it. That way we can quantify. Because generally speaking, we get once again, I started with 1,000 and we're going to get 150. We get our 150 ETBs, but it's like, I don't know, 3 to 10 days later. It's after the fact. And so now by them pushing back from, January 30th, pushing back 3 weeks, that's enough lead time for them to be able to have all of that and get it delivered and keep everybody relatively happy. Because they don't care that I'm frustrated. They don't care that in Shawnee, Kansas, people are walking in here and they're mad at me because I don't have product. They don't care about me. They care about their relationships with 40-year companies or 50-year companies that are the distributors. And they care maybe a tenth about them. The majority of their care is coming from the big box stores that are billion-dollar conglomerates that they want to keep the relationships with. As an example, I'm sure that if Pokemon lost the relationship to sell products in Walmart or Target, somebody would get fired at the Pokemon company, or a whole division would get fired. So they value that. And so they want to make sure that they can do that. So they managed expectations from the beginning. They communicated, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we're left sitting here being like, you mean to tell me that I'm going to get Erica's Tangela and Larry's Kamala as promos in a 2-pack and 3-pack, and we're going to get tech stickers, and the most I can walk out of at a big box store is 10 packs. And I ain't gonna get nothing. I mean, what's the hit rate? 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10?
Yeah, so standard quota is 1 hit every 3 packs.
Yeah.
But so here's the other thing though that I want to touch on with this is the difference is this is not a main series set.
Yeah.
There's no booster boxes.
Yeah.
So it's okay when your ETBs are delayed 2 weeks when you have booster boxes sitting on the shelves and you can put packs in your
like Phantasmal, like Mega.
Yeah. But when you don't, when what you get on release day is 2-pack blisters and 3-pack blisters, your packs and your shelves are minimal at best. And
pause. When you look at the top 10 card movers in 2025, Gengar is dominating it. There's a Gengar Full Art, there's a Gengar Mimikyu, and then there's the Gengar XY promo. Okay, so what does Ascended Heroes have in it?
The Mega Gengar SIR.
The Mega Gengar SIR, which means that Gengar family is out strong, right? Because of what showed. It's not Pikachu, it's not Charizard, it's not a starter, but people love Gengar, and people are going to want the SIR. And so if you pull the SIR out of a 2-pack blister set,
You better sell it.
you better get rid of it right away. And then what you do is you reserve a large portion of that money, 80% or 70% to be able to buy it in the future, and you pocket the difference, right? You want investment in my investment advice. We're not giving any of that, but I'm saying,
Oh, you're not a financial advisor.
yeah, correct. What I'm saying though, is that makes the most sense, because when you talk about proliferation of packs, the value that those cards will have will never be higher. I can't say never. Will most likely not be higher than what they are before ETBs get released, which it's not February 20th. You'll get pre-order stores, not pre-order stores. Some game stores will get them like on the 15th or 16th. So that week leading up to the 20th of February, if you have a Gengar in your possession at the end of January, beginning of February, the value of that will probably take 12 to 18 months to achieve again. It's no different, once again, because I'm a Honda nerd. The Roaring Moon EX out of Prismatic was $300 out the gate.
Yeah.
And then it dropped, it peaked again at like 305, and now it's like 160. It's not going to get back up to $300 for probably 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
And so it's the same thing with the hits out of this. So as there's not many packs to go out, and once again, if your main source of Pokemon packs is not an LCS, but is a big box store, they're going to put a limit on you.
Yeah.
Right. And so unless you're grabbing, crazy Uncle Earl and Aunt Lynette and your cousin,
Twice sister's cousin, removed mother-in-law.
Yeah. And you're walking in with your whole army to go buy everybody to buy 2 3-packs and 2 2-packs. It's going to be difficult to get your hands on this set.
We call that the Krause caravan.
Yeah. Facts. Facts. That's funny because it's true. You're not going to be able to get your hands on a large amount of packs. Like on release day, you can walk into a card shop and get yourself 2 booster boxes or 3 booster boxes and get 108 packs and have good odds of hitting something. To get 108 packs, I mean, you got to sit in the parking lot and you got to bring a change of clothes.
Yeah.
Or you got to deal with crazy Uncle Earl and Aunt Lynette, right?
Yeah. I mean, it poses the question, will the cards be at their highest price point on release because of the lack of packs, the lack of pulls, and the lack of populations grading wise?
Yeah.
And it's a very real possibility they might be, because the packs are going to be that far and few between, but there will be Dragonite SIRs out there on eBay that somebody's selling, and your best shot at getting it is to just buy it. And again, guys, I don't encourage FOMO. I don't encourage buying anything post pre-sale or even a week or 2 after release of a product or of a set. I mean, especially with this one.
Yeah.
Don't do it with this one.
Context also, as a game store, we have a policy in store. We don't buy the newest Japanese set until after the English set has been released. So like we won't take Mega Dream cards in on sale or in on trade right now. And then it's generally 30 days. Depending on what the market does, before we take in new sets in on trade also.
On the English side.
On the English side, just due to market volatility. And so you can actually look at Japanese market go look at it for Mega Inferno X, right? And look at what the values did for some of those cards. That's actually not a good example because it's such a small set and Charizard has such high demand. But if you look at Mega Evolutions and look what those cards did when the set was released in Japan and see how that price has come down, and then you can really see a shock in the price downward after the English set is released.
Yes.
And so we don't have that same, we'll be able to have a comparable graph of English card prices, but it'll be based on the release schedules. And so another thing too to bring up here is Phantasmal was released November
28th, I think.
14th.
Was it mid-month?
Is what the internet's telling me.
Well, the internet's never right.
So
the only thing right on the internet's us.
Okay, fair. So November to December is 1 month. December to January is another month. So that's 2 months since we've had a set, which is a longer window than what we're used to. And then that set is only going to be 2-packs and 3-packs. So as a guy, I would probably consider myself a collector, but really I'm just a degenerate that likes to open pack this shiny cardboard.
No, you're a collector. You collect. You literally collect a Shinji Kanda.
Yeah, but that's cool. But what's really cool is just ripping through like as many packs as I can get my hands on.
Well, yeah, that's the degenerate side.
Yeah.
That lives in the sewer.
Yeah, Ali learned his degenerate behavior from me. Right? It's just, hey, let me look at the back of the cards.
I was taking the trash out last week and I saw a shopping cart out there by the sewer drain. That's yours? Right?
Yeah, it's where I live. But in that, like not having the ability on a release weekend to be able to open 60, 70 packs with my family sucks. And so I'm not a fan of that. I also understand the business behind it. I also understand that it's a specialty set, but the release schedule for Ascended Heroes goes January 30th, 2-packs and 3-packs. February 20th is ETBs and another product. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then in March, you get poster collections and a pin collection.
Yeah.
And then in April, you get booster bundles.
Yeah.
Right? Which that's not crazy relative to like the prismatic release. It's very similar to the prismatic release.
Which doesn't Perfect Order drop in March?
Yeah.
Or?
So in March, the release date for the products for Ascended Heroes, the following week, you have Perfect Order, which means that you will have people able to do pre-release tournaments with Perfect Order before you get the third product release on Ascended Heroes, which could do a couple things. It could mean that if people are budgeting money and are trying to spend money wisely in the hobby, then they may skip out on buying Perfect Order to be able to get the new products that drop for Ascended Heroes. Or the converse is true, which is they don't buy any of the Ascended Heroes because they want to buy the Perfect Order because they're so close in release date, which once again, that's a thing that Pokemon's done. Gosh darn it, they just released their EV and Espeon premium figure collection. It just came out in November. There's so many sets that were in between November and when it was released in January. So
yeah.
So that's a thing that's happening also. Spring break time frame, middle of March, third week of March, is going to see a lot of Pokemon products hit the shelves.
Yeah, because we got those figure collections the same day we got the UPCs.
The Mega Charizard.
So those both dropped at the same time. So those were competing products.
Yeah. And yet, and that was a delayed product, by the way. I think there were pre-orders for that. It was supposed to come out in September.
Yeah.
And they had to push it back 8-9 weeks. Once again, due to printing. So anyway, okay. So we've got that coming out. Let's forecast a little bit about some of the leaks that have occurred or spoilers that have happened. So we have Ascended Heroes is the English name of the set. And then Perfect Order is the next set. And I believe that that's going to feature Zygarde, Mega Zygarde.
Yes.
And so we'll have there's a Mega Zygarde card. And then what is the rumor, right?
Right.
For the next set.
All right. So it's Ninja Spinner. These are Japanese set names.
Okay.
Storm Emeralda, which is probably the Gen 3.
Yeah.
Emerald Storm, I think, is what it's going to be in English. Abyss Eye is probably the Mega Darkrai, and then we've got 30th anniversary.
Okay. So Pokemon Day is February 27th. We'll come back to that in a second. But the Japanese release schedule is January 23rd. They get a set. What that means for you guys, once again, to contextualize, is that Japan will be, for a week, 2 sets ahead of us.
Yes.
They'll have Mega Dream and Nile Zero before we get Ascended Heroes. Right. And then Nile Zero will come out, which for us is Perfect Order, and that drops March 27th. And then Ninja Spinner, which will be Greninja. And then
so Ninja Spinner drops March 13th in Japan.
Yeah.
So Perfect Order, the expectation is Perfect Order will be comprised of Nihil Zero and Ninja Spinner. Those 2 Japanese sets will make up
for real?
Perfect Order.
Well, Perfect Order comes out March 20th. If they're releasing Ninja Spinner on the 13th in Japan.
That's the expectation.
Yeah.
It's not locked in, but that is the thought there. And then you get the Gen 3 Emerald Storm set.
And then you get Mega Darkrai, potentially in Abyss Eye, and then Celebration. Yeah, so there'll be, get ready for some announcements. Holidays are different across the world. And one of the ways that Pokemon always comes out of the holidays very strong. Mm-hmm. I believe, heading into the end of the year, they do good on what their goal setting is and what their plans are for the next year. And then they release it to the world in February.
Yeah. I think last February we got our first glimpse of the Mega Attacks that had the manga style.
Yeah, and for a company that is as big as they are, of course they make mistakes, but usually they don't miss. They do a good job of managing customer expectation. They do a good job of honoring their target demo, and they don't give us what we want, but they do communicate well. So I anticipate some leaks will come out here and there as they do, but then it's all put to bed on the 27th during their live stream event, and that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. So a lot to talk about, and we'll get to all of it next week. And
probably not.
We'll probably get stuck on some other.
We'll
get into the wall conversation.
We'll probably start talking about Funko Pops or something.
Oh God, no, Labubu's.
No, we ain't messing with that.
Flifloos.
We ain't messing with that.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us, guys.
Yep.
We will be back next week for episode 2 of the Minty Road podcast. Again, I'm Captain Jack, and this is the Krause.
I like that. Signing off. See you guys
next week.